how are you feeling, girl, now that it's all done and completed and we're literally launching today?
I am just overjoyed because it just took so long. I feel like it took the process so long.
Yeah, yeah. I'm relieved.
I'm relieved. I know that there is a
Happy.
pressure.
Yeah, I'm proud.
I am proud. I am relieved, but I am just, there is this pressure that I'm putting on myself. I don't know where this is coming from, but it's like, I feel like I should have been done with this sooner.
Oh, okay.
I know.
I never thought that because I was like, for such a low budget, right? We didn't have a whole lot of resources. I thought maybe this thing is going to take a year.
You thought a year?
I think
that's so interesting. Okay, now I don't feel bad. Okay.
Yeah, well, that's part of my coping thing too. Is like I think the worst so that I'm pleasantly surprised.
Okay.
I think I was just trying to be a realist because I've never done this before. This is, this is more kind of your lane as far as the creative direction.
And I think that's where that pressure was.
Yeah.
The pressure because I'm in the industry and I can see the pipeline of different projects, and now I'm putting that pressure on myself.
Yeah.
And not to mention we're in the midst of a pandemic, and not to mention like the real effects. Because I think at the beginning of the pandemic, I was super anxious.
Yeah.
Well, I know I was.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
And the fact that we kept going is, I didn't think about that. I didn't think about, people, this is such a personal project that I think is important that people understand nothing happens overnight. And I had to learn that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, for me, it was more like, I really want this to connect with people. I really want whatever it is we've envisioned and conceptualized to translate into these little cell phones, that people are going to be watching this on. And I was more concerned about, can we pull it off?
Right.
Can we pull it off?
Oh, we did. We did. Oh.
Yeah. And, I think it's like so awesome this is what I love about the creative process, because something starts from nothing, right? Like it started with a thought, then we started talking about it, we put it into action, and then we, stayed consistent and completed a product. But this is something that's, like you said, super personal for both of us, because
especially you.
Yeah. I've had this dream of using the power of the media to really advance mental health awareness, and it comes from a personal place. I mean, yes, I'm a therapist by profession, but I'm not a therapist just because I woke up one day and wanted to be a therapist, right? I'm a therapist because of all the personal things I've experienced, growing up in the Philippines, being born in a country that's wrought with poverty and no access to care. Mental health is something that's considered a luxury even now. And then having been given the opportunity to be here to practice in the United States, I just feel like I had to give back. I had to do more, and then I found you to partner with, and you shared the same passion. And so I was like, okay, God, I think this is the sign. Let's do it. So it's really cool that you were so on board with it. And I think it's also partly because of some of your personal experiences, right?
Oh, that girl.
Yeah, like I've had a lot of personal trauma in my life. So it was really important for me to break that cycle in a macro way. That's what we say in social work, in a societal,
Right,
systemic
right,
way.
right. Mm-hmm.
So why did you want to be part of this, Gab?
I mean, for me, it was just like, when you really sit down and think about what world we live in, like when you really sit down and like start to have those thoughts in your mind that take you beyond the things you can see every day, the things out of your normal world, and you start to expand your mind and really, just, start to think more and
Start to think more critically.
and learn to think more critically.
Yeah.
Um, you cannot ignore the fact that the world and human beings are under some sort of pressure, and mental health is such a huge, I mean,
It's everything.
it's,
To me, it's everything. You can't have physical health without mental health. Like
you
it
know,
drives everything.
I like to say, this analogy that I've seen people who are, on the street on drugs, physically able to do anything,
Mhm.
but their mind is so far gone, they don't even know what day or time it is.
Mhm.
But then you have people who are vegetables, or who are paraplegics, quadriplegics, who still have the capability to win Pulitzer Prizes and really think beyond normal, conventions. And it's like, you can have control over your body, and that doesn't mean anything. You must have control over your mind, and like being able to think clearly, and being able to, and not have all of this negativity and just, I mean, all of that stuff. It's like, it's just so sad. And people not really thinking, and because it has become so classist, this idea of access to care, like, we talked about before, you have other therapist friends who live in Manhattan, and their clients come regularly. It's like a part of their life.
Oh yeah, it's like let's get a cocktail. Let's go to therapy. Then we're getting a cocktail afterwards.
But then there, in other cultures, it's like, oh, we don't do that. It's like, what?
We can't afford it. Are you kidding me?
And
Yeah.
that's a barrier. And what one of the guests talked about, that barrier of just not being able to pay for it, holding it off for so long because she couldn't pay for it.
Right. And some therapists too will only work for out-of-pocket patients. Right. And again, that's not a judgment, but that's a reflection of the systemic issues. Because what if you can't? Then what happens? And if you're really skilled, then it's too bad that certain people or certain groups are never going to benefit from your competency. So yeah, we need to, that's part of our whys, right? And I mean,
Absolutely.
Being a minority female, being an African American female, we have different histories, but we have a lot of similarities too. And what it means to, be counterculture and defy the identities that have been kind of bestowed upon us as minority females. And that's the other reason why I'm so proud of our collaboration. So yeah.
Yeah, this was good, and I think so many things, so many different themes we talk about in the show, or you and the guests talk about in the show, that I wanted to go over. And one of the things that really stuck out to me, a few things, but one thing in particular was Jamie's disclosure about how therapy really helped her, even though she is super religious.
Mhm. Mhm.
And being totally okay with that and like wearing the badge proudly,
And see
um,
it as an ally.
and seeing it right. Exactly. And you know, I think it's important to see that, you know, because a lot of times we see, you know, don't go to therapy, just go to church. You know, we don't do
God can fix me.
yeah, God can fix me, God can fix us, we're in the game, we're good.
Yeah.
You know, and I think like having her there, breaking so many different stereotypes and demystifying so many things about people who believe in God and people who openly profess their religion, they are still proponents of therapy,
Yeah.
and allies of therapy, and appreciative, and you know, speaks highly of the experience.
And she did EMDR. She didn't know I was EMDR.
Right. Yeah.
And that was such a perfect plug because it was unprompted, and I certify in that. And really, EMDR can save people a lot of time and a lot of money because it's one of the most effective forms of treatment out there. And it's been researched, you know, numerous times for its efficacy. And it's just one of those solid forms of interventions. So speaking of guests, you know, when I think about all of them, they've all been so inspirational. Really, like let's start with Eric. Eric, the African American, uh, awarded barber, right? A huge mental health advocate. I mean, his perspective on therapy and how it's helped him. I really hope people are inspired, especially African American men are inspired from his journey and just how big of a believer he is in the power of therapy. And then Colin Wells, plant-based therapy. You know,
Colin is my boy.
I know.
Colin is my boy. I love Colin. Colin is a straight shooter, you know. He doesn't.
And a walk and talk, you know, for veterans that he started. So powerful. And then just his whole advocacy and education on plant-based therapies, which I think my industry needs to hear. So I really hope a lot of not just, you know, non-clinicians, a lot of clinicians, I hope, watch his show so that we can all like learn, you know, to think outside the box. Because our training doesn't involve a whole lot of that. So I'm really glad that we had him to talk about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then, of course, Paris.
Paris!
Oh, my God. That was so fun. And
I love Paris so much.
Me too. She was just so raw and authentic and kind and open
and open to therapy. And Paris completely embraces therapy. Just like, I got a therapist for my job, I got a therapist for my transition, I have a therapist for like, Paris said, listen, I am here.
Yep.
Baby, you ain't gonna be messing up with my mental health. Mm-hmm. I'm focused and I'm clear. Yeah. She said no. Matt, that's my boy. I love Matt.
Yeah, let's talk about
Matt and Kelly.
Yeah.
Kelly is near and dear. I can't wait to finally meet her. Kelly's here. She's here with it. She's here.
Yeah.
I like Kelly. Super talented.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. And they were so down with the cause. They really got what we were trying to do, you know?
Yeah, and they have a lot of good stuff on their website for other creatives. Really just showcasing kind of their thoughts and their analysis of different ideas and pop culture themes and stuff like that. So shout out to Kelly. Shout out to Matt. Stigma Solutions. Yes. Yep. We love y'all.
Stigma Solutions. Thank you.
Stigma Solutions. And,
you know, small people like us who have big dreams.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Big dreams.
Big.
You hear that, Oprah?
Ginormous.
Big. But yes. Yeah, I mean, I'm just like, fuck. it's really happening, you know, and you know, the things that can happen from here. And I really want to talk about like the creative aspect. And I know you call yourself low tech and, you know, you want, Lord, it's a day, it's every day, one day at a time, one day at a time.
Exactly. I'm growing, I'm learning, I'm trying to embrace technology.
Yes, yes, thank God. No, but so how was that, you know, we are obviously a few years apart.
Yes.
And my comfortability level with technology is different than yours.
Absolutely.
And is that,
and we bridged that well.
Exactly. And I want to really get your perspective on it because, you know, people trust seasoned therapists. They don't trust you just got out of school 1 year ago. You're still trying to figure out your life. You're not going to tell me how to live mine. So they appreciate therapists that have been in the game as long as you. So, you know, what would you say to other therapists with your tenure? How can they use social media? You know, is it important? Do you think this was worth, you know, should they embrace it? Should they just, you know, stay on the fringes?
Absolutely embrace it. If you have the stamina and the patience, you know, because not a lot of therapists do, especially with telehealth right now, you know, some of them really don't like it. It really depends what your overall goal and purposes for engagement.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I really was not active on social media professionally until maybe the last couple of years when I launched Get Mental. And, you know, I was kind of ambivalent about the whole thing, partly because I didn't understand the true power of it. Secondly, the technical stuff was really challenging. So I was like, well, I don't have to learn everything. I can have a team. You know, so I don't regret it. The more I get into this, the more I am learning how powerful the platforms can really be. And the reason I care about that, because not all therapists care about that, right? And they shouldn't if they don't. But for me, the reason that matters to me is because it's in line with my bigger vision of creating or having a positive impact on the system, right? And creating more education and change and destigmatizing. So I thought, well, you know, before digital marketing, it was TV or radio. So why not try to affect them all if we can? And digital marketing actually is a lot easier to break into than TV or radio, because this is, you know, this is the upside of technology with its many downsides. This is the upside, is people like us with big visions and dreams can use the platform for a good cause and reach thousands
more,
millions of people.
Billions, yeah.
So I don't regret it, but I could not have done it without someone like you who was really patient and willing to educate me and, you know, do it in a manageable way. And because honestly, there were times when I'm like, oh my God, forget this whole thing. Like, forget it. It's too much. It's too hard. What am I even doing? I cannot be Mother Teresa. Screw this whole thing. Let me just stay in my little box here, because my little box is comfortable.
Right.
It's comfortable and it's prosperous. You know, so sometimes I'm like, why am I like taking on a new problem? And then you know, the why. I have to go back to the why. I'm like, okay. I need to get through this process because of the bigger purpose that I'm doing it for. But there are days, I don't know if you've had those days where you're like,
please.
Oh God, this shit is too hard.
Hell yeah. This is hard. You know,
it's hard and it's expensive.
Listen. And it's different too, because, you know, I think it adds another dynamic to it, because I'm at the beginning of my career.
Yeah.
You've been in the game doing your thing in your field for years. And for me, you know, my position is more like, okay, everything I touch has to be the best I've done since this last, you know, and it's like this constant pressure.
Yeah.
you know, and when I take that, when I gain perspective and take away the pressure, the external pressures, really it's just, I finished something.
Yes.
That's good enough for me.
When you
You
take the
know,
competition chatter out of it, right? It then becomes a creative process.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I finished something, you know, something that means something to somebody, and, you know, doing something good, you know, trying to just spread the word, whether somebody see a post, a video, anything that they can connect with that can just say, hey man, I appreciate y'all putting this together because it helped me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's the why. It's not even about all the fanfare. It's not even about
That's not what motivates me.
and you know, and even in my
Extra icing on the cake, you know, but that's not right. That's not what motivates us.
oh no. But I think, you know, the with the different hats that I wear, it's important to me, but I have to balance that importance with, like, if okay, if nobody cares about this, if nobody, the news doesn't say anything about this, does it still matter? And the answer is yes.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to be okay with that. And I have to be okay with not getting, you know,
The accolades.
any external. Yeah, it's about the journey. It's about, yeah, and checking yourself and you know, for me as a young entrepreneur, as a young business person, as a young person in this game, really just starting her career over, it seems like, because, you know, I did 6 years in the military. So that it's like
Yeah,
that, you know,
perspective. Absolutely.
yeah, I put a lot of, I recognize I put a lot of pressure on myself that don't necessarily need to be there. And this is a constant reminder, doing a mental health show while battling my own mental health and trying to remain, you know, focused and creative and upbeat and on board and energetic and all of these things. It's like,
Positive.
shit, you gotta, it's a lot, you know, and I think a lot of people don't talk about it. And that's why we're doing this.
Mm-hmm.
You
Like the
know, it's
behind the scenes, how many reshoots, you know, how many mistakes we made along the way, background issues when I have that crazy Zoom. I mean, and I have to like learn how to roll with the punches and learn to be like, okay, student mentality,
yeah,
you know. But there were days when I'm like, oh my God, I'm just so tired.
yeah,
You know, I got so many things I'm doing, especially with the pandemic and the way it hit us as therapists, meaning we've never dealt with anything like that.
right,
Dealing
right. So how was that like for you? So being, you know, having that going on in the background, this idea that yes, you're still a therapist and you still have to provide for
yeah,
other people.
and homeschooling, right, while doing this project, it's just like, oh man, what's that like for me? There were times when it was really overwhelming, you know, and times when I really had to look at my plate and go, which one does which item on the plate needs to go,
Yeah.
right? But this definitely was not one I was going to let go, you know? And so I had to make sacrifices, whether that's socially or, you know, certain things that I just don't have time to do right now. I'm okay with that because I know it's temporary. But the one thing I don't ever compromise on is my mental health because I know that that is the fuel I need to sustain me for everything I'm partaking in as a wife, as a mom, as a therapist, you know, as someone trying to make social change. That is
Right.
one thing. And you're right in in your expression of like not always having the external validation and being okay with that. That's where what I really try to work on. It's really a spiritual practice, right? Of like, what is my purpose and worth in life? Like, yes, the external validation, at some point, we need some of that to keep this going. But that is not the only thing that's going to anchor me, you know?
Right.
And my worth and value and motivation isn't just based on whether people agree with what we're doing or not,
Right.
you know?
Exactly.
Yeah, and it's really about impact. Like if we impact 1 or 2 people, there's a ripple effect to these things.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, you change 1 person, you can change an entire family system.
Yes.
1 person, you can change an entire generation. You know, I broke cycles in my family system. You're breaking, you know, a cycle in your family system. So that's the power of just touching even 1 or 2 lives. So I have to remind myself of that from time to time, because sometimes, you know, the grind can get to you.
Yeah, I like how you say that external validation keeps you going because you need that, but it's definitely not the thing that anchors you. This looks like I have like a stripper.
No, you don't.
But it was like, it was like showing my neck. You know what I mean? Like it's not supposed to do that. It's supposed to be here with it.
Oh my God. This is what I deal with, you all. This is what we do. Retake, not good enough. Do it again, not good enough.
Like stripper. Did you see?
Don't stop it. And plus, you know, let's just get real. We're all about social causes and all, but we're also all about our fashion.
Yes, please. Can I get
That's
in
what makes it
there?
so fun. Like we're so multi-layered. I really could not have found a better.
Oh.
You know, we got depth, and we can be fun and funny and goofy and silly, and we like to dress up and eat.
Yes, eat. That's our favorite thing to do together. Eat.
Yes, and you and I can.
Man, but now the restaurants are open now, so I think we're in the game.
Yeah.
I
mean, we're not out of the woods, but you know, it's getting a little better. So yeah. As far as this launch, talk about the launch and what prompted you to kind of create these beautiful, you know, what do you call them? See, I don't even know what to call them.
I mean, it's just honestly the storytelling on social media.
The colors.
Yeah, so the vision behind that, and really just the storytelling aspect of building the social media page was really just about creating a story around mental health and what it looks like for different people. And I know we interview so many different types of people, you know, on purpose, right? Intentionally.
I want people to know that was by design, because we really
Absolutely.
wanted a diverse group talking about mental health and their mental health journey.
Yeah. And you know, as a result of that, the social media page reflecting those identities in the most basic way. These people are super dynamic, but as much as I could with what I had, really highlighting whether that be celebrities or other causes or, you know, resources that, you know, are important to everybody just watching the video, identifying with a guest, whether that be Eric because they're a barber, or Colin because they're a veteran, or Paris because they're into fashion, whatever that might be. Really, you know, connecting people and addressing the intersectionality between all of these different things. You know, and yeah, absolutely. And really, you know, just making it fun and making it beautiful, and you know, making it someplace I would like to visit and live on social media.
Yeah, you did it, girl, because those colors are so fresh. That's what I envisioned. I wanted it to be fresh, a little fashion forward, while balancing it with the content, because the content can be heavy. And so it's a balancing act with mental health, I believe, when you're presenting it to the public, you know. And I feel like you really...
Oh, I didn't even think about that, but thanks.
I like that too, because when I do the podcast with Get Mental, when I'm talking about something really, really heavy, I feel like, you know, like a dish, you don't want it too much of one ingredient. It will like ruin the dish. So I feel like it's all about balance, and you balanced it with the colors and just the graphics, and I really love it.
Thank you. love that. No, because I worked really hard on that, and I really wanted to create something that obviously you liked, but then also that, people felt included, felt in like an inclusive space, and it felt
Inviting.
inviting. And it's about mental health, but it's also about women, but it's also about men, but it's also about transgender, but it's also about Asian and Black. And we're just trying to spread the word about, mental health is an everybody issue.
Mental health for all, really.
Mental health literally for all.
Yeah.
It's so much finger pointing in this world. It's so much, that causes this undue resistance to just be yourself.
So much anger right now.
And so much anger. So much anger.
Yeah, this diversity in our guests, my deepest, deepest, deepest hope, honestly, is that it can bring a little bit of togetherness in a time when we're so divided, and our mental health is so key in how we process the political environment right now. Seriously, like if people could only slow it down and, watch before they speak, right? Like there's so many opportunities now to just think out loud and not pause and not, think about the consequences of what you're about to tweet or post. And that affects our mental health. Every time you read that, every time you scroll, the cumulative effects of these messages coming at you has a mental health impact. So I really hope people pause and listen to what the guests have to say and slow it down, like we're all struggling, right? That's why the hashtag, one of our hashtags is we all have issues. We're all struggling, and the hate and the anger we need to lower the temperature. That's where my heart is. That's where my heart has been every day for the last few months, and honestly, is just praying for people to soften and to find some compassion, in their hearts for people they don't agree with.
Wow. I mean, you said it so perfectly. Just soften, those messages, they infiltrate you in ways that you don't even know you've changed. You just 6 months later, you haven't left the house.
It's like a little insidious,
yeah,
the cumulative effects of all of that has changed us, the fabric of our society. And so I was like, I want to use this space for something positive and a different conversation, right? A non-biased, non-partisan conversation. Let's just get real, regardless of who we are, our color, our class, our political affiliation. Listen to all of their stories. That's my deepest hope. That's my big why.
Because we all got issues.
We all have issues. And it's such a critical time. There's a global mental health crisis going on, Gab, not just US, globally. I mean, if you go on the World Health Organization, it's a little scary, but on the other hand, it's really great because now people are really, I think, starting to get it, how crucial mental health is. We're not kind of on the fringe anymore. It's not like just an extra service now that you get, right? Now it's becoming an integral part of healthcare, which is how it should be. But our work and the society's work is not done in making sure people who can't afford it have access to quality mental health care. My people, your people, I mean, God, I would love for to go to Africa, to go to the Philippines, to go to third world countries. And if I had an infinite life and infinite resources, those countries need it. Need it.
Do you think the U.S. is worse off than those other countries?
No.
Mm,
Unfortunately, we're one of the better ones, in my opinion, because we actually are funding mental health.
okay.
In the Philippines, for example, there's no such thing, girl. You are
Mm,
on your own. No mental health care. They don't even offer health care. You're screwed. My heart breaks all the time, knowing that that's a reality for billions of people. You know, same thing in Africa, same thing in really poor countries. Anyway, I don't want to be Debbie Downer, but that's the reality.
no, but that's real. That's why we're doing this. That's not. That's why we're doing this.
Yeah, just talking about it like really hurts my heart. Like I'm like I get so emotional about it because can you imagine like being severely depressed and not even know that it's depression, and then you have like maybe 3 kids and you don't know how you're going to feed them, but then here you are like wanting to kill yourself every other day. Like I can't even imagine. I cannot even imagine. I mean, that happens here too, by the way.
Right.
But it's exacerbated when you don't even have money to put on the table for food, right? When you can't even meet your basic needs. And then here you are also suffering from a mental illness that you didn't, A, you don't have a name for, and B, it's probably stigmatized, so you're carrying some shame around it. And then D, C, even if you wanted help, there ain't anywhere to get it.
That's the part. That's the part. Even if you did, because like you said, this reflective of the experiences of all types of minorities, that same story. But the difference in the US is even if you did want some shit, you could, if you was in the Philippines, you couldn't get it.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I get it, and so with my other platform, some of my friends from the Philippines will message me sometimes and say, hey, you need to take that stuff here. I'm like, trust me, girl, that is a big pipe dream. Don't know how it's going to happen. I'm trying to make stuff happen here. What more in a third grade? Yeah, it's huge. It's a huge problem, even though we've come a long way. And like I said, there's now global recognition, we still have such a long way to go to really kind of make a dent on it. And so this is our contribution, right?
Wow. I feel so much more like excited about it because it's like we really sat up here and did this shit. And
dare to dream, and blood, sweat, and tears. Like I said, right? Like hours and hours and hours. People don't see the behind the scenes.
Here we are. And here we are. Episode 1 drops tonight.
Yeah.
Episode 1 drops tonight.
Woo! Yes.
Eric, my boy, Eric, the first one on the chopping block.
Boy's looking good too. I was like,
Eric. Yes. So I'm super, super, super pumped about everything that's going to happen. I'm glad we did this. We made it to the other side.
Yeah, it's amazing. It really is, So I'm happy, I'm proud, I'm relieved, I'm a little anxious, kind of like anticipatory anxiety, wanting to kind of, know what people think and if people are going to watch, if people are going to like it, if it's going to connect, all of that stuff.
All of that stuff exists for me too.
Yeah.
And it's part of the experience. So let's just embrace it. Hopefully people like it. Hopefully, they find some value in it. Hopefully they take it home and take it to work and take it to school and, here's something that connects with them and
hopefully they share it, you know?
And share it. Yeah. Have something to say. We want to know what's up. How you feeling? What's up? So
Yes, yes.
cool.
We here, girl. We here.
Yeah. So excited.
Yes.
Yes.
So,
Okay. So I think we're good. Thanks, Matt. That's the end of the video.
it's a wrap. Hopefully this is it. I'm so excited. Did you see my
Oh.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Make sure you include some of that.
Make sure you put that at the end, Matt.
Yes.
And make sure you put him at the end too, because he needs to be a part of this so bad.
That's right. He hears his mama talk about mental health all day long.